Joe Biden and the White House administration should really be listening to today's podcast, and I hope they are. Marcell Otto, thank you very much for joining us today. We're having a fascinating conversation, I know, in anticipation, really unpacking the importance of electronic record management. And we all have seen what's been happening in the news. We understand what's happening around, Joe Biden taking classified documents back to his house and things being discovered and all those elements behind document management.
Right.
And Ricoh is the forefront and one of the leaders in this space.
Correct.
And we're really, really interested to hear what you have to say. We're really interested to hear more about DocuWare. So thank you very, very much for joining us from Ricoh. And as the Digital Services Product Manager for Ricoh South Africa, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks, James. Yes, I think thank you for the opportunity to be here. And I agree. I think when we get into more detail, I think often we see on platforms like carte blanche, redactions, records management, all these types of things, which we will get into more detail. I definitely think, with the security measures, even our own government in South Africa can hopefully fast track and actually start implementing this type of technology as well. So thanks for having me. It's a privilege for me and to represent Ricoh South Africa, a digital services company. It's a great opportunity, and I'm grateful to be part of such an amazing organization and to sit here today and represent Ricoh.
Fantastic. And I love how one of the principles behind what you're doing is actually positioning Ricoh as a digital transformation expert in order to transform the African continent.
That's right, yes.
Tell me more about that, please.
Sure. So, yes, like most companies that specialize in technology that's probably looking like it's becoming redundant, you don't want to be another Kodak case study, if you're familiar with what happened to them. So, and Ricoh has been obviously visionaries in looking into the future and future-proofing the business and transforming into a digital services organization. So, we're actually far ahead, and it's not just that we're transforming now into it, it's actually globally been part of what Ricoh has been working towards probably for the last 10, 20 years already. So, within IT services and digital industries and solutions that we're providing, for example, in the UK, we've been providing cybersecurity to Vodafone for 20 years. So, just bringing it back to our specific portfolio on digital digital services that we specialize in is basically digital experience, and then digital workplace, business process management, cloud and infrastructure services, and then the cybersecurity.
Okay, and what's your part in that portfolio?
Yeah, so I'm basically the product manager for digital services for South Africa. So, looking at the portfolio, and within each of those elements of our portfolio, there's various solutions and software services that we specialize in. A lot of them acquisitions of Ricoh. So Ricoh has also been acquiring businesses globally, including DocuWare, which we're talking about. So a couple of years ago, and there's even penetration testing companies with cybersecurity and all these other digital services. So I don't think we have enough time today to go into all of that.
I wish we did.
But there's it's quite a wide but perfectly positioned value proposition that we take to our clients.
Fantastic. And can you just explain how exactly is DocuWare, which I want to understand and unpack a bit more, but how is it positioned in that portfolio you've just described?
Yeah. So if you look at, and when we get into DocuWare, it will make sense or more sense, that actually when you touch on all of those, DocuWare's got elements that, depending on the approach and depending on the requirements and how you look at it, could probably touch on and relate to all of those elements as well. But like in business process management, if we have to talk around that, workflow being one of the main features of DocuWare, digital workflow automation, task management, all of that related to business process management. When you look at your cybersecurity angle of it, the security standards on DocuWare and everything around it, what you mentioned, records management, access rights, all these types of things that come into that. And, just peace of mind, with cloud, specifically like Azure type of security that you get with ISO compliance and these types of things to give clients peace of mind. permissions, access rights, audit trails, version control, all these types of things is also covered in DocuWare. And it's a digital experience. It enables you for digital workplace. It's a cloud. You can relate it to a cloud service because it's although there is an on-prem offering of DocuWare as well. The cloud offering where we were doing about 80% on-prem 2019, we're now doing 80% cloud.
It's switched.
So it's switched completely around, and it's great to see South Africa is adopting to it, but it's actually become a no-brainer. I think, like my mother-in-law, who was, she was very skeptical in starting to use banking apps and things like that in the beginning, and but now she's doing all the WhatsApp and the social medias and the banking and everything on the app. And I think South Africa, in the same way, in the beginning was skeptical about cloud. Where's my information sitting? Sure. What is cloud? But I think with peace of mind and with all the other benefits that come with it, the cloud has taken off in a great way that with all those benefits to the clients, including, I think a massive implication of the on-prem was where we now spin up a system in the cloud within a couple of minutes. On-prem installation could take days to weeks just on specific modules.
So Marcell, that's very, very interesting, and I want to understand from the conversation, it sounds like you're explaining different organizations and industries that might benefit from using DocuWare. Where does one start? Is it industry specific?
No, I think that's definitely a great question. Thank you for that, because that's the flexibility we have, that it's not a one size fits all.
Okay.
And it's also not a set solution that like a ERP system with a specific functionality where you have to adapt to the system. So it's not a one size fits all. And bringing it back to industries, we've got clients ranging from 4 to thousands of users in all industries. So there's from your transportation, we've got great clients in transportation, likes of Imperial, 4PL, and Amakwa Wines, to think of a few. In the legal industry, from litigation to conveyancing, depending on the requirements there, processes within that.
So I'm going to ask you to use some practical examples and some successes in a bit. But let's actually unpack, and especially for our listeners who are very keen to understand, I think I'm hearing a lot of the benefits of DocuWare, but what exactly is DocuWare?
Sure. Okay, so yes, I think the best way to explain it, and in a nutshell, is if you look at Gartner, which most people, especially in technical or technology industries, are very familiar with. Gartner, a few years ago, it was still classified as ECM. So ECM could be referred to as electronic or enterprise content management. Yep. So, enterprise content management itself consists of basically your document management and then business process management. So within document management, there's a lot of elements that basically contributes to a document management system. Although, nowadays we don't just look at documents, it's content of all sorts that you need to be in compliance with. CCTV footage, so you need to be able to support any file formats. But within the document management side of it, it's basically, your advanced document processing, structuring all your unstructured data, and especially when it comes to records management, like South African national standards. For those who know, the 161752 is a compliant digital records management system that can cater for 161751, which is basically your file plan for your organization. And that goes through document classification, your retention, the user roles and permissions and all of that. So there's no point in having a system that can cater for it if you haven't performed your first function of creating your file plan. But once you have the file plan, then you need a system compliant to be able to manage your file plan with access rights and permissions. And that's where Joe Biden and the people can,
benefit.
Yeah, so because you can set it up with certain policies and procedures to ensure that no document leaks. I'm getting off topic a bit there on that, but I'm just relating it back to that. But then, with document management still, there's so many different tools within it, but specifically your retention period. So a records manager, for example, to manage a company's records according to a file plan will never have control over it because it's so vast and can get so complicated. But once you've put it into the system starts managing that for you.
And my guess is you guide your clients in that journey.
Yes, that's right. Yes, so that's where we experts in the field and where we do that. So that's so on document management. You know, you've got mobile app access with permissions, and you've got relations between documents. But there's also a lot of machine learning, artificial intelligence tools that automates a lot in that portion, especially like document processing. But I think when we explain maybe features of DocuWare, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So just on the, and then the business process management and workflow, which I think we've touched on the other side. But nowadays, Gartner refers to specifically where DocuWare fits into the Magic Quadrant as content services.
Okay.
So I think it's about 2-3 years ago they started, they changed it to content services, and the criteria to qualify as a content services platform is for a ECM system to be able to act as an integrative middleware. Okay. So integrative middleware, basically, to enable digital transformation, you need all your systems to be able to talk each other, even legacy databases. And so you need to be able to cater for integration, you know, access, APIs, whichever web services, ways to be able to get there, where DocuWare is really strong with as well.
Okay. And so that touches on the importance of digitizing, digital transformation, we used that word earlier, but also optimizing a process and modernizing a process that arguably falls foul of a lot of human error quite often.
Correct.
You know, we all know the old-fashioned filing systems. How does that relate to the benefits to an organization in terms of efficiencies, cost savings, and other?
Yeah, so you know, it's life-changing.
Okay.
And that's why it's so great to have such a great product, and also the expertise in our team, and to be on these journeys with our customers. Yeah. Because you know, I can mention an example. A recent customer I met with, Pushpinder at KMP Media. When you walk into his office, where he's got a massive desk, couple of screens, where it used to be just paper everywhere. Yeah. Where there's absolutely no paper when you walk into his office now.
Amazing.
You know, time that it took to process through the paperwork, finding a document. If you go into a filing cabinet trying to search for a doccuments, if it's misfiled, there's a chance you'll never find it, and that could cost you. Yeah. I mean, if it's for example, a medical record, and because one of the projects I worked on before was a mining company that closed down. And they needed to digitize their records, especially medical records, which they need to keep for 40 years for compliance, so that, you know, if an ex-staff member comes with some complaint against it for his health that was affected, they need to be able to have the evidence. And if they don't have it, basically the case lost type of thing. So, but so the benefits are endless. You know, like you said, the manual data capturing time, and then the mistakes, and then rectifying the mistakes. Yeah, opportunities can go into months, and
cost.
And yeah, so there's a lot of like time savings. You know, it's not to replace people all the time. I think people do get nervous sometimes, but about that. But it's actually for the person to become an assistant and to be as productive as possible, and as yes,
and make better use of their time, arguably.
That's right. Yes.
Some more practicalities. So how do you, for instance, use DocuWare?
For myself, so you know, there's pre-configured solutions within DocuWare. Okay. So one of the ones that I use in marketing, I'm based in the marketing department, is basically any document that I bring in, it's got the machine learning capabilities to do intelligent indexing, where they basically starts classifying and looking at this document and recommending to me what it is, and extracting the relevant information to index it automatically in a folder structure, or if there's a workflow that needs to be initiated from a document that is received by me, for someone to be notified of it and get a copy of it to perform actions. Okay. So for me, it's basically a document repository with you know, just accessing my content securely from anywhere, sharing the content easily. Yeah, and even
internally and externally.
Yes, so it depends on you know, externally, you can export to email and send it out externally in such a way, but you know, in a more governed way, where you have your audit trails and your access rights. Okay. For example, if I share a document and another user in the company doesn't have access to that document, even though I share that document with them, they wouldn't be able to access that document.
Interesting.
Without getting a permission to get access to that document. And so I will be able to see all my content and what I have access to in the company, but not necessarily what another person might see in another department. So yes, it's just, for me it automates and a lot of my manual indexing and searching for documents. I think one of the very basic features of it is that you can, in your normal Windows File Explorer, for example, if you're searching for a document or for specific content on a document, you can only search on a file name and a folder name. But because the documents are basically converted through OCR technology, optical character recognition, you can search on any keyword on any document and you will find it within seconds. And you've got that in front of you.
Search functionality is very useful.
Yes.
Okay, amazing. That's super to know. Some more successes and accolades. I know that DocuWare has recently been awarded an incredible status, which we'll talk about in a second. What are some other practical successes you've experienced recently?
Yeah, so if I can mention a good example of an implementation at a client that's life-changing is, so one of the other pre-configured solutions in DocuWare is called invoice processing.
Okay.
So, and I think I'll maybe come back to just, the pre-configured, because although we mentioned there's pre-configured, you can also, we've got a blank canvas where we can customize any process according to requirements in any business and any department as well. But for example, with the invoice processing, if you look at your accounts payable side, we've got mining supply companies, mining companies themselves, and then also transportation. And accounts payable is something that's common in most businesses. You've got bills to pay, and so basically, what ERP or accounting systems offer, from your largest and global ERP systems and accounting systems like your SAPs and all the flavors of Sage and your ACPAC and SysPro, and in this case Omni, for example. Although that is a great accounting ERP system, there's still manual work that happens with outside of that system. So, for example, if you look at users on an accounting system, not all people's got access and a user license to that system. So when a purchase requisition, or if they refer to it to a request to order, it could be from a site elsewhere, there's normally a tedious initiation to get that process started. So sometimes we just start by giving an e-form to initiate that process that everybody's got access to on their mobile phones or laptops. And then that basically, instead of having to type an email or print out a document and fill it in, and then send it through to the office to get the requisition approved, first perhaps by a site manager and then by another manager or procurement manager. We basically start digitizing it there to eliminate and get better data quality from the beginning. And then you basically look at, okay, there's elements where you obviously then in your process, if you need to issue a purchase order, you'll issue that purchase order in your accounting system. The normal procedure without digitizing your business process in that case would be to print out that document, and that's the start of your document pack together with the rest of the paperwork you have.
Okay.
And then that paperwork builds up as you get your invoices and your delivery notes from your suppliers. And then that needs to be married up, and there's a manual reconciliation that takes place with your purchase order to your invoice and your delivery note, for example. And then that needs to be verified and reconciled. And if there's mismatches, credit notes need to be requested for that transaction to eventually balance to get paid. So that's where we come in with DocuWare. All that manual reconciliation that happens throughout the process, we monitor, for example, email on Outlook, and we import the invoices and delivery notes as they come in. DocuWare processes and extracts the information, what a person would have had to do manually, and does the matches for you in eliminating errors in costs and in descriptions, and so eliminating and making that user an assistant to verifying and confirming basically on the workflow steps and tasks. So basically what happens is the process starts managing the people. It eliminates a lot of the work they would have had to do.
Yeah.
And instead of the people having to manage the process and waiting for people. So this is proactive and
far more efficient.
Business continues where it's not reliant on people to sit and actually wait and do the work. And so with that, obviously, you get the insights. You've got dashboards. You can see what's happening, which PODs we're waiting for. Okay. We can monitor like Syspro databases, any databases, but I'm thinking of a client where we do that with Syspro. And so they can see when a POD comes back in and DocuWare processes and extracts information, it drops off the list of outstanding PODs, for example. So and then basically, exporting into, at the end of the day, there's a lot of steps in between. We don't have the time, obviously, to go through all of it, but when you get to the end of your process, then your compliance, like for your SaaS retention, for the time that you need to keep your records, is managed basically by the system until when it comes up for destruction. Performing your records management function, exporting in CSV formats to update your other systems or to upload into BACS payments for bank payments to your suppliers, all these types of things. And then, you could have your daily payments, your cash payments, which follow a different route out of your process. And then you can have your weeklies and then your monthlies type of thing all split up. And it just, I think our clients, once you start using it, you can't
go back.
It. No, there's.
It sounds an incredibly efficient and very helpful solution to a lot of business process.
Yeah.
And recently we hosted an article on our website with your CEO of Ricoh South Africa, Jacques van Wyk.
Great person.
Yeah, and it was a fascinating conversation with him because a lot of what they was talking about was the passion within the organization. And really importantly, I'm just reading here, the fact that the team have achieved this and have been awarded the membership and as a status of exclusive DocuWare Diamond Club.
That's right.
That's phenomenal. And I think it's encouraging for our listeners to see and know about those accolades, but also to see and hear your passion in this. And that passion, and in closing, is very much in line with the principles behind how Ricoh position themselves.
Correct.
And I think the spirit of three loves is something that you guys align yourselves very closely to. In closing, could you just wrap up what that means?
Sure,
to
yes.
us, and the listeners?
So I would actually just like to take a quick moment to mention, what you mentioned about our Diamond Club membership status for 2023 based on our performance of last year. So out of 800 plus global DocuWare partners, Ricoh South Africa, we positioned globally 11th out of all DocuWare partners. So, and then within EMEA and APAC, we came 8th in global. And then within our Ricoh OpCos, the operating companies, basically, we came 4th within EMEA and APAC and 5th globally, which includes the Americas. So for us, again, for South Africa, and I think that just highlights the difference that the contribution we're making in our country to transform digitally and in that space. And for us to be so successful against the major world economies, if you have to look at the countries we compete with and the partners we compete with and their sizes, and for South Africa, and for Ricoh specifically, for Ricoh South Africa, you've got a great product, but if you don't have the great people, then the product means nothing. So, and then bringing it back to, the spirit of three loves, it's, Ricoh being a Japanese company and the philosophies of the Japanese respected globally. And, it's for us, it's love your neighbor, love your country, and love your work. And, DocuWare share those values with us. And basically that's what we want to achieve is basically for ourselves to continually improve and, to add value to our clients and, just look after the country and, be a positive impact. And so it's really ties nicely into specifically just talking DocuWare here, where we obviously have a lot of other lines of business where we have the same impact, yes.
Thanks, Marcell. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I'm making some notes here, and I've written down here, capture, process, and access documents. That's a very simple and high overview of what
Yes.
ultimately DocuWare does.
Right. I think one of the most recent comments a client gave us was, it's so comprehensive, but it's so basic.
Really?
You know, so it's so comprehensive, but so basic. So that's very important to be user friendly. You know, I think I've met with many customers who had bad experiences, who lost a lot of money in the investments into ERP systems that just never got off the ground. Where with DocuWare, you know, like from a 4-user system in Rustenburg to thousands of users across the country for enterprises, you know, the way that we approach it also is very phased, and make sure we get it right. In that one area, you need to get value from day one, and you need to get working from day one and see your value for investment, and that's what makes DocuWare great for us as well. DocuWare does, because it's such a great product, it actually enables us to be able to add value to a customer straight away. So if a customer already gets immediate value, you know, then it's a relationship that you just build on, and yeah, I think, you know, the friendships and the relationships and everything else is, we all want satisfaction out of what we do and want to make a difference. So, you know, that's where I get my satisfaction from with regards to my work.
I love that, and your passion comes through clearly. Marcell Otto, thank you very, very much. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
I'm James Erasmus from the TCS Impact Series. Thank you very much to all our listeners. Please follow us on our website, where you'll find today's fascinating conversation, and also on YouTube and any of the other channels which may be your preference. And we very much look forward to engaging further with you and Ricoh in the near future. Thank you very, very much, and thank you, Marcell.
Thanks, James.
Love you to have you here.
You too. Thanks. Cheers.